Hello, online learners, and welcome to the muscular system, which is Chapter 7. When looking at Chapter 7, please pay attention to the reading guide because not everything on Chapter 7 in the textbook will be covered or is necessary for this topic. Okay, so when you look at the muscle system, muscles are special contractile tissues that allow to shorten and thicken due to nervous response. And once that nervous response goes away, the muscle relaxes. So muscle cells are elongated fibers. So if you think of pulled pork, you have those fibers, those are muscles. And they kind of work like a rope. And muscles go together to form bundles of fibers. There are three types of muscle. There is skeletal muscle, which is got these really cool things called striations, and it's voluntarily controlled, which means you have to think about it. Then cardiac muscle also has striations, but it is branched, and instead of having innervation by each nerve, there's actually what's called these intercalated discs, which allow the impulses from one cell to be transported to another cell. Then there's also smooth muscle, and smooth muscle is found in hollow organs, mainly such as the gut and blood vessels. Good. Now, skeletal muscles are special muscles that are attached to bone, and their main job is to provide movement of the body. Attaching a bone to a muscle is a fibrous tissue, dense connective tissue called a tendon, and all of this movement is voluntary. You have to think about it. Now, there's over 600 skeletal muscles in the body. Please pay attention to the reading guide as to which muscles I want you to know. You don't need to know all of them. I've just chose a few of the basics. So when you look at the principal function of muscles, it's to move your joints, to produce heat if you've ever had your muscles contract when you're cold or you shiver, and also for posture and for body support. Here's an example of the muscles. As I say, please pay attention to the reading guide as to what muscles are here, because there's a lot of them. Some of them are categorized. Muscles have shapes, have names based on their shapes. They also have names based on what they do and their location or their size. So hopefully that will help you figure it out. And here's the muscles from reverse. Now, when it comes to muscles, there's a few definitions I want you to know, and that is the origin is the end of the muscle that's usually stationary and it's proximal, and the insertion is the other end of the muscle and it's usually movable. You don't need to know all the insertions and origins for all the muscles, you just need to know this definition. Then there's also the definition of an agonist, which is the main one moving, an antagonist, which are the ones that go against the movement or the opposite movement. So if you think of the fact that your biceps will contract or flex your arm, your triceps will open your arm. And those are antagonists because they work together. Work opposite. And then there's synergists, which work together. And here's an example of how when your tricep is contracted, your bicep is relaxed. A little more detail. Again, just be aware of this. You don't need to know it all in that much detail. When it comes to movement, there is flexion, which is the closing. There's extension, which is the opening of the joint. And here's an example of flexion of your knee, which results in the contraction of the hamstrings, which are behind the leg, and when you extend, it's your quadriceps and the front of the leg which contract and your hamstrings relax. Now, there's all sorts of facial muscles which are really cool, but you don't need to know this in detail. Same thing with your rotator cuff. Depending what program you go into, it'll depend on how much detail you need to know. Okay? So you can look at all the